handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us.
It was the first day of September 1939. Across southern Alberta and the rest of Canada, people were getting up, tired after a restless night. Many had kept a vigil by radios, waiting for the news everyone was dreading.
I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
And we were all expecting it, but somebody came shooting down from the pool hall or somewhere and said, I just heard on the radio that Britain has declared war. And this was early in September of '39. And of course, the word spread like wildfire.
Technically, Canada remained neutral until September the 10th. That's when we jumped in and recruits swamped the local armories.
After, when everybody were joining up, I decided, especially after I lost a cousin in the Merchant Navy, and right away I thought, well, my God, I better get into it too.
I was playing with a dance band, which was the best in the land, eh? Heck, we were even better than Mart Kenny, at least we said so. Two of my buddies, newly found in Dauphin, went to Winnipeg, hitchhiked in, came back by bus with naval uniforms on, having joined at HMCS Chippewa, and they went back 3 days later. I told the band leader I was off, joined them, and went back to Winnipeg and joined the Navy, just like that.
And just like that, recruits boarded trains at the CP station in Calgary. Their families crowded onto the platforms to say goodbye.
The general feeling was one of help the men by being as cheerful as possible, with many, many tears, but a feeling of send them off on a happy note, if we could.
The war was more than a military conflict. It was too important a fight to be left only to the generals. Every man, woman, and child in southern Alberta were constantly reminded of their obligation to help. Propaganda played a big part in keeping up patriotic fervor on the home front.
We gotta buy war bonds, it's more than a song. We gotta buy more bonds, speed victory along. Don't spend it, lend it, help to end it. Come on, buy bonds.
Wasn't it Eaton's on the corner there? When they, no, not Eaton's.
No, the Bay.
The Bay. On the corner. Always on the corner window had a display of, what's the woman? Rule Britannia, you know, a model, and an ad for the war bonds. That was always there through the war. And they made them, as I recall, am I not right, so that a middle class or poorer person could save up and get one.
Even children pitched in to help the war effort. They collected scrap, joined cadets, and saved their pennies for boys not much older than them fighting overseas.
Well, we were encouraged by our teachers to buy war saving stamps, and I think they were 25 cents each at the time, and you would fill a little booklet with these stamps, and small contributions like that did amount to a significant amount.
There are people here in the city who still have theirs. They did not cash them in. Yeah.
I think they can still cash them.
Oh yes, but they're collector's items now.
Yeah.
As more men joined up, women jumped in to fill the gap. They toiled in war production plants, drove trucks, and as the war dragged on, women brought in the fall harvest. It was usually up to women to deal with another wartime regulation, rationing. For each person, each week, there was 8 ounces of sugar, 4 ounces of coffee, 1 ounce of tea, and a half a pound of meat. Just that, and nothing more.
It wasn't funny, really, it wasn't. We wouldn't have anything like this on the table because so many things, including sugar, were rationed. But we managed. We stayed nice and slim.
As peak production was reached at the oil fields in Turner Valley, gas was severely rationed at home. Cars not essential to war work disappeared from the streets. Women had to find other ways to get to workrooms converted for war production.
It was very important that we immediately get going with what we call ditty bags. And their bags, they're about 12 by 16 that you make out of any kind of odd, heavy material, or a towel if you like. And you add personal things that a man would need.
Not only did women work long hours for the war effort, they also made sacrifices. Women gave up their nylon stockings so the boys could have parachutes. And women got into uniform in record numbers to serve so the men could fight.
I'm the proudest girl in the world. There are lots of reasons to why I'm in. With every soldier I'm out to win. We're out to fill the shoulder road into Berlin. That's why I'm proud.
Music kept everyone on their toes in the canteens and on the radio, muffling the ugly sounds of war.
The dance halls were just loaded with service people, as many nights as there were in the week.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover.
You recall a couple of years ago, Vera Lynn was here at age 70, standing tall and straight and singing as beautifully as she ever did on the stage at the Jubilee Auditorium. I'll tell you, when she sang Bluebirds Over the White Cliffs of Dover and Now Is the Hour, there wasn't a dry eye in the place, young or old, because she had that magic yet.
Music made the war years a little easier, but the harsh reality of what was really going on came home to southern Alberta almost every day.
During that time, I had the sad misfortune many times to deliver the black-edged telegram. The War Department regrets to inform you that so-and-so has been killed in action, and we were instructed, of course, to get a neighbor or someone to accompany us when we delivered these telegrams, and so that they could take care of the person due to the shock.
For the Alberta families who received the telegram at Christmas time, the Christmas message of peace on earth seemed distant, and there was little joy in the world. In the words of American President Roosevelt, Canada was the aerodrome of democracy. They came by the thousands from the Commonwealth, from the States, from France, Norway, and Holland, from Poland, Belgium, and Czechoslovakia. More than 130,000 of them to learn how to fly. 19 air bases sprang up across Alberta beside the wheat fields and the grain elevators.
There was a massive construction of airfields all over Western Canada to take advantage of our flying weather and, of course, the security of Canada. There was some concern about whether or not the UK was a secure place to do flying training.
Now, most of our flying training schools were in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. There were 52 in all, and the reason for that was weather and the flat lands. Now, it gave the pilots a good horizon and also some good navigational aids following CPR tracks, grain elevators, and such things like that if they ever got lost.
Even frozen lakes in the Rocky Mountains were cleared in winter to meet the demands of the comprehensive British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. The No. 5 Elementary Flight Training School in High River was the springboard to the troubled skies of Europe.
Well, we always thought it was the top elementary school in Canada. Some of the people in the Air Force were telling us this.
It was about half ground school and about half flying. And the course was, well, it was tough.
Early mornings and being shook out of bed unceremoniously, mostly shouts and abuse. Kicked out in little shorts into the cold weather for a little bit of physical training, running and jumping and everything like that. Huge queues for breakfast, which was generally powdered eggs and watery powdered eggs, and not just like what Mom made.
I think the biggest contribution was the manpower and woman power, the people who volunteered, and remember we're talking about volunteers who volunteered to serve in the 3 armed forces during World War II. But as far as southern Alberta as a geographic entity is concerned, the provision of the bases that allowed us to run the Commonwealth Air Training Program, of course, which provided so many countless thousands of the air crew that served in World War II, largely from the UK, but in all fronts.
Today the airfield is silent, covered by the wheat fields it once cut across. One hangar remains, empty and deserted. As the war raged overseas, the tide began turning against Germany. German prisoners were captured in large numbers, and these men had to be taken out of action permanently. Once again, Alberta answered the call. During World War II, well over 25,000 German prisoners spent time behind Alberta barbed wire. Camps were set up at Medicine Hat, Seavey, Wainwright, and Osada, which was later moved to Lethbridge. The Lethbridge and Medicine Hat camps were the largest in Canada. Prisoners in the camps doubled the population of both cities. The 2 camps held up to 12,000 prisoners each. Camp 133 in Lethbridge was built to relieve overcrowding and poor conditions in the Osada tent camp. The new camp was located just on the outskirts of Lethbridge. There were 36 two-story buildings, heated by natural gas boilers. Alex Johnson was a guard at Camp 133. Harry Pohl was a POW.
We were pretty happy to be here in Canada instead of Russia or any place else. We had lots to eat. We were treated pretty good. We had a roof over our head, and we were warm in the wintertime.
The work that I was involved in was escorting groups of prisoners of war to the sugar beet fields. And they were taken out to the farms in the morning. This is the ones that I was associated with, worked on the beet fields during the day, and then were brought back to camp at night.
Out of 81 months that I was a prisoner, I worked for 73. So I kept busy, and that is the best thing you can do. I volunteered to go on the farm work. And there we lived right with the families where we stayed. The father-in-law of the farmer came and on the horse, and he roped the calves in, and then we branded the calves. What a job that was. That's the first time I ever seen any calves branded, and the smell, the burning hair. Yeah, but you do everything when you're out there, and you learn a lot.
Today, the 133 campsite belongs to the Superior Propane Company. You would never know a POW camp ever existed here. There are no guard towers, no barbed wire, and no prisoners' barracks. But when we visited the camp with Harry Pohl and Alex Johnson, the industrial backdrop seemed to disappear, and memories came flooding back.
The wire would have been just over there, about where those tank cars are, I would think. And beyond that, of course, was the compound itself with all the various huts and the recreational huts and the mess halls and all the rest of it. And a total of about 60 acres, as I remember, were included in the wire. The detention barracks within the camp was just over there, if I remember correctly. And I've often wondered what conditions were like in a detention camp, in an internment camp. It must have been a bit rough, I would think.
It was water and bread.
As I mentioned, the wire would have been just over here, and you're sort of behind it again, unfortunately, figuratively anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that spur line would have been here too. And of course...
Here, and that long building was here too.
Yes.
And we came out of the long building and right onto the train.
Yeah, yes, you would have in those days, yes. That's what remains of a city that once held 12,500 men, and plus about 1,000 veterans guards, incidentally.
Yeah.
There probably were in the order of 14,000 people here in the entire camp. And of course, as you know, this doubled the size of the city of
Lethbridge, yeah.
After his release from Camp 133, Harry Pohl returned to Germany, but he came back to Canada. Now retired, he lives in Lethbridge. Alex Johnson died in 1989.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the news. During the first few moments of this bulletin, the war in Europe is coming to its official end.
Hostilities ended in Europe May 8, 1945. Sir Winston Churchill appeared on the balcony at Buckingham Palace with the King and Queen. People all over the Commonwealth celebrated. Here in Calgary, 8th Avenue was crowded to overflowing on VE Day.
I can just remember it being very, very crowded and noisy, and everybody just let go.
You felt that it was all right now to enjoy yourself.
Yes, it meant coming home.
On November the 11th, communities across southern Alberta pause at war memorials like this one to consider the price of freedom. The veterans march, the bands play, but each year the number of veterans gets a little smaller. The crowds a little thinner. War memories are dimming and receding further into the past.
When you lose half the crew, 125, 130 fellows all in one shot, it's not very pleasant. And I've been back to England, to France, to see the grave sites where a good many of the fellows are buried there, eh? And they're beautiful grave sites. They're beautiful. Yeah.
I get rather choked up when I think of Remembrance Day, and when I go to the auditorium and, you know, and the service and everything, it really hits me.
You're free today because of what they did in those times, eh? To keep this country free. That's my thought about it, but I don't think that the young generation really understand it all now.
I think it's a time for them to share, because only they know what it was like. We don't. Mm-hmm. We don't understand exactly, and it's a time for them to.
Yeah, because they're the ones that went through it.
Yeah, relate to each other.
it's a time for us also to educate ourselves and
Mhm.
to remember, like to try and understand what they did.
Yeah.
It's a time so that we can maintain this peace.
If we don't go down there where the people who know about it are, we're never really going to know about it. And I mean, just saying we don't understand what they went through isn't really an excuse, because there's always a chance to find out.
We have to remember Remembrance Day, because we have to preserve what we have. If we don't remember Remembrance Day, then Canada doesn't, then the United States doesn't, Britain doesn't, then war is probably inevitable.
I feel that education about World War II, like what happened, is really important, because I know, like, this is the first year I really knew, like, the details of what went on in World War from social. I mean, all the other years, sure, I bought a poppy, I wore it, you know, I had the 2-minute silence, but I really didn't understand what I was doing. I just went through the motions, you know, and it just becomes all very mechanical and doesn't mean anything to me. But now that I know, like, we're learning right now what happened in World War II, like, I really feel thankful, and it just has more meaning for me right now.
This program is dedicated to the spirit that carried Southern Albertans through the toughest times. It's a testament to their inventiveness, good humor, and old-fashioned gutsiness. And we hope it will serve as a reminder to the thousands who signed up for overseas duty, to housewives who selflessly did war work, and to the children who gave up their toy soldiers and collected scrap, so a real soldier might have a better chance, and to the memory of all Southern Albertans who gave their lives in war. We have not forgotten.
Until the young person lays the wreath at the cenotaph, and then I come to pieces.
Why?
So representative of why these things must never happen again. There they are, the young people, paying homage to this. They, by design, somehow, are teaching us that if you don't remember history, you're bound to repeat it.
Meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do.